Okay, at any time you're ready.
Now we all know there's a pretty big debate over video games and whether they make people violent, rot your brain, and plenty of other things. But there's also a pretty big debate over social media as well, and if they cause things such as depression and stress. And well, that's why I'm here today, in an attempt to not only change some of my audience's views on one or both of these two things, but also show how they're good and some misconceptions that we see nowadays just aren't true, and as well as why we should change our perspective. So, what's the problem? Well, the biggest problem we have as of now is the huge negative view that we have on both social media and video games. Now, almost all of us have heard it from our parents. Video games are bad for you, video games rot your brain, or social media is a waste of time. And we can especially see it in the news. New concerns about ties between violent video games and mass killers, explaining how violent video games make people violent and were the cause of these mass killers that did unspeakable things. And we could see it with social media as well. Are social media giant silencing people? Suggesting that social media outlets like Facebook and Instagram control what people say and what they want them to say. We see these kind of things happen plenty of times, debating whether video games and social media are actually good things and if they actually affect people in certain ways. And the truth is, they do, but not in the ways most people think. Nowadays, we see major news outlets telling the public that video games like Call of Duty and Halo are making people violent and cause them to do violent things as well in an attempt to recreate what they saw in the game. A prime example being the Parkland High School shooting, because Nicholas Cruz played the same games listed above and became violent, even though it was proven that he had these kinds of thoughts long beforehand, even playing any of those games. And games such as Fortnite that are addictive and are just like any other addictive drug that even 5-year-olds are getting into and is promoting drugs because it provides almost the same level of addictiveness. And we could see the same thing happening in social media as well. Social media apps such as Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, all apps that both BBC and CNN claim to cause stress, anxiety, depression. It's highly addictive, lowers people's self-esteem, and an excessive amount of cyberbullying takes place. And while some of these may be true without a doubt, others are stated without any type of evidence whatsoever. Now, as of now, we have 329 million. 329 million people, 329 total residents of the U.S., which is undoubtedly a large number. And out of that 329 million, 244 million of us use social media, and 216 million of us play video games as of 2019, according to archive.gov. But why? Why do 200 million of us still use social media and video games if we hear all these allegations of video games making people violent and social media causing depression and stress? Why do we continue to put ourselves at risk if all these things could also happen to us? And while it does affect a small percentage of the population, one could argue that they were already mentally unstable or unbalanced. But even still, the positives outweigh the negatives and affects more people positively rather than negatively. Now, video games can, of course, affect the brain in different ways. A study done by Gregory Clemenson and Craig Stark, who both work at the Center of Neurobiology, Learning, and Memory in the University of California, performed a study to see what types of games improve which areas of the brain. Areas such as the occipital lobe, which focuses on vision and your visual processing, can become improved by playing first-person shooters and can improve the player's visual ability and eyesight. The cerebral cortex, which focuses on eye movement, can become improved by playing first-person shooters as well and will help with your hand-eye coordination. The frontal lobe, which is where your planning, problem-solving skills, memory, and decision-making takes place, which is improved upon by playing fast-paced games and fast-paced and intense games, which in turn allows you to make quicker decisions and improve your problem-solving skills because of the game's fast intensity. The temporal lobe, which focuses on memory, is better improved upon by playing games such as Lumosity, which focuses on improving the user's memory. And finally, the cerebellum, which deals with your movements, which is improved by playing fast-paced games as well, which works with your frontal lobe to improve your reflex time. Now, video games can also improve social skills by chatting to others in your game that have the same interests as you, and can also better improve a person's ability to work with a team with games such as League of Legends, which requires your entire team to work together and communicate in order to win the game. And before we move on, I'd like to touch back upon improved problem-solving skills when playing certain games. Games such as A World Without Oil, mentioned in a TED Talk by James McGonigal, which challenges the player to figure out how to survive a world without oil. Games like these challenges the player to think and could potentially allow them to develop real-world solutions on how to solve these problems in-game and potentially problems in the real world. Now, social media, on the other hand, according to Monica Anderson and Jingjing Zhuang, both seniors researchers at Pew Research Center who study internet and technology issues and both focus on the role of technology in the lives of teenagers, found that social media can help spread awareness with things such as the Truth Initiative to help teens stop smoking, helps create new relationships with apps such as Discord where you can talk to others that share the same interests with you, helps to become more social with apps like Instagram to share and view friends' photos as well as stay in touch with distant family, helps to reduce stress by taking time to relax on apps such as YouTube, and can higher people's self-esteem with people on apps such as Discord supporting you. And finally, as stated in Edward Kessler's Social Media and the Movement Ideas, social media apps like Facebook allow you to express different ideas and opinion, which also allows you to meet new people and maintain relationships with family and friends. So, what may be the solution for changing people's perspectives on both social media and video games? Well, the most logical solution that actually has the potential to work is to educate the people on how both social media and video games provide more positives than negatives. From video games helping different parts of the brain to social media allowing you to express your ideas, both of these outlets provide a bit more positives instead of negatives. But with a solution always comes some limitations, such as how would we actually educate the people? What outlet would we use to spread this kind of information? The news? The same news outlets that claimed multiple times that either video games or social media are dangerous? And what time would we broadcast if we do manage to send it out to the news? Secondly, is that it all depends on the person. Even if we do manage to spread the word of the positives of these two, it's then still up to the person to take it upon themselves to believe them or not. And finally, there's the previously acquired prejudice, which means that if they previously believed that video games made people violent or social media caused depression, then they may not change their mind even with the evidence provided, which also falls under dependent upon the person. Now, even with both social media and video games having their respective negatives and positives, and while they have the chance to make people addicted to them and have some amount of cyberbullying with them, the positives still greatly outweighs the negatives with 200 million of us using both each day. They allow us to keep in touch with friends and family, meet new people, and they both affect our brain in different ways. Now, it's still up to us to change how we view the two, and it's still up to us to change how we view the two and whether or not we should work together in changing how they're both viewed. Thank you.